Hey there, emerging expat. You're tuned in to Let's Move to Portugal. I'm Victoria from Expats Everywhere's podcast, and I have the distinct honor of bringing you, YouTube travelers, and our resident Portugal experts, Expats Everywhere's Josh and Kaylee. Each week they'll inspire, they'll educate, and they'll accompany you on your journey to Portuguese residency. This week on Let's Move to Portugal, Joy unpacks the real-life challenges and creative strategies of moving from the US to Portugal, from downsizing to launching a community initiative called Vamos Bem. To keep this podcast going strong, we've included a few brief ads. Thanks for supporting us by listening.
We're very happy that Savvy Cat Realty wanted to support us and sponsor the podcast, as we're actually clients of theirs.
When we started our journey to purchase our property in Portugal back in 2022, they came right alongside us in the process.
Savvy Cat Realty provides a highly tailored service to supporting those relocating to Portugal. Their mission is to find you the best match in continental Portugal. Their local experts will guide you through the whole process, keeping sustainability for both sides.
They have a full local team, including agents, lawyers, and engineers, making sure you are safe. And as locals, they believe fair prices are good for both sides.
And Savvy Cat Realty works with both rentals and purchases with budgets from $50K to millions, always making sure it's worth the cost.
Book a free call at savvycatrealty.com and have them on your side planning your move to Portugal.
Hey, expats and travelers alike, welcome back to Expats Everywhere Presents Let's Move to Portugal podcast. Kaylee, how you doing?
I'm doing well. We've had a lot of visitors. How are you doing?
Oh, yes, we have. Yeah, I'm doing really well. Listener, if you're new here, we're going to get you caught up on what's happening in our world. If you click specifically to listen to death,
Sounds terrible.
It does sound terrible. Yeah, you can actually use the chapter feature and just jump ahead if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're listening to it on your favorite like podcast player, you might just have to like arrow forward until maybe about the 7th to 10th minute.
To skip our weekly welcome.
Yeah.
Which is what we're doing right now.
We're into the weekly welcome, and we do talk to Joy about an initiative that she started about aging and dying well here in Portugal. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, death was certainly a topic that got brought up, but we talk about kind of her journey here as well. So this episode is packed with just all sorts of bits and bobs. But I mean, the main point of us having her on was to give her a platform so she could talk about this service that we believe many people in our community will want to know about.
Right.
It's beneficial. Mm-hmm. Whether like you're in that stage or you just want to support people who are in that stage.
Yeah, we're just thinking about it and pre-planning and why not? About it. Well, you know, I mean, sometimes I guess you don't think about the what ifs and what happens later on in life, and so you're not quite prepared. But other times you do, and whatever that might be, not just about like aging gracefully, but whatever that might be. So I do understand. I am a very like organized and a person who likes to be prepared. So I think that you know, although it might not be something that's on my radar, it would be interesting to listen to be prepared. You know,
be prepared.
I knew that was coming. The Lion King.
Okay, so let's get people kind of caught up on what's happening in the world of Expats Everywhere until we shift into this. Yeah, to the actually episode. Meat and potatoes of the episode. We had a fun video that we put out over the weekend on Saturday. We let you all know where we're at in the citizenship application process. We have submitted our application.
Spoiler.
But we detail that process, and the feedback on YouTube has been so lovely. Not a single negative comment. Now, some people were like, "Hey guys,
you could have done it cheaper."
No. Nobody said that either. Okay. We know we could have done it cheaper.
Yeah, we talked about that in the video.
Yeah, we were in a rush though.
Yeah.
I don't know why we were in a rush. I know why we were in a rush, but I don't know why we were in a rush.
Well, we'll get to that in a second too, though. But yeah.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah. So, I mean, basically, like people were saying, you know, that they were also in the process as well. Like some people that had been here for a number of years, or they had gone the citizenship by heritage, stuff like that, Sephardic Jew route. And like basically nobody that commented was like, yeah, I just got mine. Everyone was like, yeah, I'm still waiting. So
it's a long process for everyone.
So most people that actually commented were at least 1 year into the wait, but some people were like multiple 3 years in the wait. I don't think it's getting any better either.
This is why I would like to say the whole citizenship thing that we talked about in the video, it's going to be a series because it's going to be a lot of videos and it's going to take several years. So we put this one video. Yeah. We put this one video out, which kind of gives you the indication of the pricing up front to apply, but we will continue to talk about what's next because there's supposed to be a portal that you get a number for that you can access and you can follow along. So we will continue to put that stuff out. But if you are looking for, I've actually gotten some emails as well, like people like, who's the lawyer you use? Because you also are preparing to apply for citizenship. So if you want a recommendation for a lawyer, we love our lawyer, or also like the course that we took online to get our A2 certificate for the language requirement. We have all of that as well that we can pass on to you.
Yes. Okay, so what's your update then?
The update was just going to be like, I feel like every week we're talking about, Parliament and if they're meeting. And now, so we put imposed on ourselves that we wanted to be have the application in before September 15th when they came back when Parliament came back from recess. But still, you would think that they would come back and be ready to go. And we're doing it quickly because there was so much that seemed to be fast tracked in July, but they don't seem to be fussed to go that fast right now. So.
Yeah, so I'm actually pulling up. I should have been prepared for this. I didn't know we were going to turn the weekly welcome into what we're talking about now, but I read an article on Monday or Tuesday, I think is when it came out. It was either September 22nd or 23rd that it came out, and it was the father of the Portuguese Constitution. Basically talked about how it was going to be problematic the way that the proposal was worded.
Right. So there could be changes. But this is what's actually interesting because, obviously Portugal's been around for a long time, but they haven't had their constitution for that long. That someone who actually was there when they wrote the constitution and assisted in writing the constitution is still alive today.
Jorge Miranda.
Yeah, which seems pretty crazy.
So Jorge Miranda, the headline says Portuguese citizenship overhaul. Unconstitutional, in quotes,
dun, dun, dun.
Creates diachronic inequities.
Inequality.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Diachronic. I don't even know what that means.
Yeah,
I'm going to have to look
harsh.
that word up.
It's harsh. Well, so, we might see that whatever they're trying to pass with citizenship either doesn't happen or it takes a lot longer than they thought. And I think for them to do it the proper way, they do have to hear from lots of different parties and people on the pros and cons to it. So it might not happen as fast as we all had worried was going to happen in the spring.
That fancy word means concerned with the way in which something, especially language, has developed and evolved through time. So, so basically, it's the way that it's worded and the way that they're proposing it can create inequality. The article itself was really fascinating because there were some points brought up in it that I hadn't considered, but I'm like, George, you're right. George, you're right about that too. You are right. He must be brilliant. So I will put a link in the, in the show notes of this so you can check out that article. Ahmed Abbas is the writer from emidaily.com. Anyway, I don't know anything about EMI Daily, but that article was shared with me and multiple times. So I wanted to share that with you because it should be on your radar, and hopefully we'll have some better indication of what's happening with this whole citizenship thing in the near future.
Yes, and we plan to, once there is a good update, then we will put a video out on the main channel with our lawyer who's explaining what the update is. So that should be coming hopefully soon. Yeah. Other than that, we've got the video this weekend. It's going to be interesting. It's about food.
It's
special diets.
Special diets. Thanks to a patron of ours who suggested this topic for us. And
then on Expats Everywhere Explore, we've talked a little bit about Belgium and an expat living in Belgium. So that's gone out as well.
Correct. So we'll link all that stuff if you're curious to catch up with that. Other than that, I think... what else has been going on? Weekly events. We went to the Oktoberfest on Friday at Bom Sucesso. That was not so fun.
It was all right.
It was a bit of a bust.
It wasn't a bust. Honest. I don't know. I think that's harsh.
No, it's not.
It was fine. No. It was a little celebration, not bad. But what is coming up is this week, Porto Coffee Week starts.
Yes.
So that's fun.
Porto Coffee Week will be more fun.
Yeah, hopefully. Lots of coffee. There's always something going on though.
Yeah, for sure.
Or even when it's not summer. I feel like it's a lot when it's summer. I mean, Sahaldish just had their autumn festival.
We missed it.
Yeah, we were so busy this past weekend that we didn't get to go, but because it was just over the weekend. But
yeah,
there's always something going on. So just always check the festivals wherever you are in Portugal.
Okay. So Joy Goldman joins us on this episode, and she's from the U.S., moved to Setúbal. We talk a little about Setúbal, but like, had we packaged this episode as being like about this expat living in Setúbal, it wouldn't have made sense.
Yeah.
But you know, basically we do talk about her nonprofit called Vamos Bem. And yeah, it's to be prepared for like in case of emergencies, and then also to organize non-medical support. And I also probe a little bit on like, what's it been like trying to start an initiative like this? Because we've noticed that a ton of you in our community, in our sphere, you move here, you're living here, and you see kind of gaps in things, and you just throw yourself into those gaps and try to like organize and find out how to get
you see there's a
done.
need there, right? Yeah.
And it's not like starting businesses always, but it is like organizing something.
Yeah.
So I do probe her on that, just so if you're interested in that, maybe you'll glean something from it and then be able to do your own thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to it.
Let's get to it. We know that relocating can be stressful. Trust us, Portugal is the 5th country we've relocated to.
So it's nice to have someone helping you out, which is why we can confidently recommend Global International Relocation, which is a leading provider of relocation, moving, and mobility services.
They can support individuals, families, and even businesses when it comes to moving internationally.
I like how they're able to simplify the relocation process, and they help with everything you can think of, and actually even those things that you don't think of.
Of course, you have the immigration side of things, but there are aspects like pet relocation, shipping your car, moving household goods, and settling in that are all things they assist with. They're really comprehensive when it comes to mobility.
With over 17 years of experience and having expertise in over 180 countries, they aren't just for your move to Portugal.
So for personalized assistance, visit global.pt or get in touch with us for an introduction and to receive a personalized relocation quote. One of the most important pre-move things to consider involves your finances. Here's the cool thing. If you've moved already, it's not too late.
Yeah, that's right, because we met John a little late in our journey, but he certainly helped us make sure that we're on the right track.
John McNerney from Green Ocean Advisors is an American living in Lisbon with an office in San Francisco, which helps him have a pulse on both sides of the pond. John helps people understand where they're at before they take the plunge and move abroad.
As a financial advisor, John can help you understand your financial position no matter what stage of life you're in, whether you're curious about what your realistic retirement date is or how to invest your money post-retirement.
His love for finance and the differences between US and Europe have given him the ability to guide his clients in the right direction when it comes to investing and allocating funds. For example, you might want to sell your house before you become a tax resident here in Portugal, so you're not paying additional taxes here.
Josh and I have even talked to him on several occasions about some major life events that have happened to us and how to navigate them smartly from a financial perspective. If you'd like to be put in touch with John from Green Ocean Global, click on his Calendly link below to schedule a free consultation that he provides our viewers to see if he's the right fit for you.
Just make sure that you choose the Expats Everywhere intro call for your free consultation. Well, Joy, welcome to the podcast. It is going to be fun to unpack your move to Portugal and then also a business that you started that's really helping people out as they integrate into life here in Portugal and kind of get used to the way things work here. And it's called Vamos Bem. And we're excited to hear that because you've chosen a Portuguese phrase, a common phrase as the business. So I think that's another cool way that that you're integrating into Portuguese culture and society here. But first and foremost, where are you from? Tell us a little about yourself.
Great. Well, thanks, Josh. Wonderful to be here. So it's amazing for me to think about September 20th, which is in like 11 days, will be 3 years in Portugal. And I moved from Maryland, originally from Massachusetts in the United States, so always East Coast, and moved with my husband and at the time 3 cats to Portugal.
Okay, nice. And you moved on a D7 visa, is that right?
We did, yes. Yep.
Okay. We won't dive too deep into the process because it's ever evolving. So I think possibly, actually, I know things have changed since the time that you moved, but I am curious to know what was it like early on when you made the decision to move to Portugal and like starting to get momentum as you were applying for the visa and actually making the move happen?
Yeah. So there's so many resources out there, including, your podcasts and shows and others, Americans and Friends and Facebook page. And we just followed all the information that was there. It was like a master project plan. And just all the details, right? We applied through DC for the D7 visa. And truly, just so I tend to like lists and be organized, which was very helpful. And the timing of everything. It's almost like a part-time job in getting it to happen. And inevitably things come up. But for us, it went relatively smoothly. We decided not to hold on to property and not to put things in storage. So we sold our house. We had a 60-day rent back. The timing, everything was like so tight. I think we moved out of the house within days of the end of our rent back period and flew here. We flew with way too many bags, and we might hold the record. I won't say what the amount was. But anyway, it just takes tenacity and all the help from others who have done it before you.
Okay. I'm curious about the rent back because I know this is a strategy, but you're the first person that's come on to the podcast and mentioned that you did a rent back. So let's first define what a rent back is. You sold the property with the assumption that you could rent it back for a defined period of time. Correct?
Yes.
And were you only going to sell to a buyer who would allow a rent back?
We did.
Is that the idea?
We gave preference to that. And so when we got bids, it included that in the contract. And so some of them had fees associated with it. The one we actually happened to go with did not have an additional fee, and it had 60 days. Absolutely.
That's a really clever idea, honestly, because I think a lot of people tend to go the route of they sell their property and then they get an Airbnb in their town and they rent that for a month or 60 days or whatever. But it must feel a lot nicer still being in your house and knowing everything. So you don't have to learn all the quirks and idiosyncrasies of a new property, a new house right before you move, because that's kind of stressful.
Yeah, absolutely. And plus we had animals. And as you can imagine, animals need to adapt to places. Yes. So I will tell you that I have pictures. So the last several days, we gave away much of our furniture other than what the new owners bought as part of the home. So I think our sitting kitchen table was a box with a tablecloth over it and maybe a couple of shower chairs. And it was, but thankfully we had our bed because they bought our bed. And so it worked out really perfectly. So I think I don't know if it's the hardest thing, but as we all go through, it's a letting go process, right? So even seeing your furniture and things that have been part of your daily life be donated while you're still living there. And then actually a neighbor of mine still has some of my photo albums because I was going to trash them. I didn't want to carry the weight. And so that is our total storage is photo albums at a neighbor's, and that's it. That's the only property that's over in the United States.
And you felt good about that? Like it felt good kind of letting go of that stuff? Or was there anything that maybe you regretted?
No, it felt so light to not be encumbered with a lot of stuff. And that's also, Josh, part of the process is, we found things in our basement that we didn't even know were there. And
sure.
So one of them was this antique record player that I actually brought over to Portugal, but I didn't even know it was in my basement. And so, so that felt wonderful to not have a lot of stuff. And we rented a furnished apartment. So we brought maybe 4 pieces of furniture that were antiques. And then otherwise it was just what we needed to live here.
And what was it like arriving into a furnished apartment here in Portugal? Like, did you find similarities to things in the US, or were there things that like kind of shocked you? Like, wait, I don't have this? Maybe like a dryer, clothing dryer.
Yeah, although the apartment we rented did have a clothing dryer. So that was worth it. Waiting.
That's a rarity.
It is so much a rarity. In the kitchen, of course, but again,
naturally,
a rarity. And we actually, I feel terrible saying this, but we had what they call an American-sized refrigerator. I think that is like a bit of an insult.
It's a term I think that gets used across Europe. Yeah. We won't get canceled for saying that.
Yeah. So the largest adaptation for me, and it has remained so, is I am spoiled in temperature control in the home. And I tell people to this day, when you walk from one room to the next room and it's the same exact temperature, be grateful for that, because I don't have that. And from an energy efficiency perspective, it makes total sense. And and we have since bought a place, so we have much more control over that. But that was a big adaptation for me.
So I'm curious to know, like, how long did you stay in your first place? I assume that you signed a year contract for that place. And then after that year was up, had you already started looking, or did you stay 2 years and then just recently buy? Like, what was that process like?
The lease was 2 years, and we bought it sight unseen. So we had done a month scouting trip in the winter because we wanted to see what's it sort of like in the wintertime. And
at its worst.
Yeah. It was February, March. And we have a friend here. So I found the listing on Idealista, and it was in a location that we liked. So she actually came and with the realtor did a video walkthrough for us. And I asked her questions. And so we weren't here when we signed the lease for the apartment. And
that's common.
And we also, I think this is also common, paid probably 4 months rent earlier than when we arrived. So I think we started renting in June, technically, and we didn't get here till September. So, but we felt the demand was higher than the supply, and particularly
you wanted to lock it in.
We definitely wanted to lock it in. It had a parking space, not that we have a car. So one of the things we were looking for was actually a walkable city and not to have a car. But it was appealing, should we want to rent a car, that it had a parking space. So we rented with a 2-year lease, and we weren't actually looking to buy. But then when we found something, and again, I found it on Idealista, that was on a higher floor. So we're on the 7th of 8 floors. We can see the river out front and our back. We are across from a park. There's only 2 units per floor. And we knew the neighbors had looked after the elder woman who was here prior to us because she had dementia. Anyway, all of that. And a garage, private garage, we decided, all right, we're going to go for it. and buy.
Oh, that's awesome. So it's actually in the same building where you were renting. Did I catch that right?
No, it's like
okay.
2 blocks. Like it was literally a 2-minute walk.
Short move.
Very short move. Yes.
And is this in Setúbal?
It is in Setúbal. Yeah.
Okay. We just recently put out a video about ChatGPT, ChatGPT's top 10 cities to live in Portugal. And in the comment section, there were I don't want to say many people, but several people that were surprised that Setúbal wasn't on the list. Okay. And it bounces on and off the list that Kaylee and I create, every year as we just try to keep updated, like what's kind of hot, where are people moving, what do we like? Yeah. But I'm curious to know, like, why Setúbal for you? What do you like about it? Because it's obviously your number one city.
Yes. Yeah. So part of me, and the expat community here talks about this. Do we really want to advertise it's a great place to live?
I know.
Anyway, in saying that, I believe it is. And amongst the criteria, well, the first and foremost is the community here, both expat, immigrant, and Portuguese. And it's close to Lisbon. I mean, we can get into Lisbon in 45 minutes or an hour, depending how we go, whether driving or public transportation. And it's a different energy than Lisbon. So people often comment that we love going into Lisbon and we so love coming home where it's peaceful and more quiet. And yet there's cultural activities here. So there's a forum. I've seen jazz. I've seen the Lisbon Metropolitan Orchestra. I see choirs. I see fado. So there's culture. There's the market, the Mercado de Livramento, which I think is the largest or amongst the largest indoor fresh fish and produce markets in Europe. There's water. There's the Arabada Mountains that you can go hiking. Choco frito, right. Sardines, muscatel, there's vineyards.
Muscatel as well.
And yet it's Portuguese. So one of the toughest things for me, and I'm committed to it, is learning Portuguese. And I can't get away with just thinking English will suffice here. If I want to talk to contractors, I need to learn Portuguese, and that's okay with me. I mean, I didn't move to a different country to recreate my old country. So anyway, all of that. But there's this wonderful sense of community here that is a differentiator.
Yeah, and that kind of like feeling you were mentioning earlier is something that I've felt as well. That energy that's different than Lisbon. So albeit close, some people will clump Setúbal into Lisbon and say like, well, it's part of the Lisbon metro region. But like for me, it's like these places are different. Like when you want to compare Sintra and Cascais and Setúbal to Lisbon, it's different. The energy is different. The way of life even is a bit different. Not a bit different. It is different. And even depending on where you are within Lisbon, depending on what neighborhood you're in, you can have a different lifestyle. So, thanks for sharing that. And I totally agree with you that there is a feeling. I felt the community there. Certainly when we visited our mutual friends, Gavin and Monica there. So we felt like, okay, we're starting to get introduced to people that are in your community, the fruit guy that you go to, or the cafe owner, Portuguese cafe owner, or some of the expat owners of restaurants or bars or whatever. So okay, I like it. I like it, but we don't want to tell too many people.
Yes, that's absolutely.
Okay, so your move ended up having you go to an apartment that you ended up buying a house. What was the buying process like? Did you find that complicated?
Yes. Okay. I keep telling people So buying, and we're in another apartment condo. So it's not a individual house, but it is an apartment. And it's not for the faint of heart, because we also did renovations. So just even the money exchange and trying to follow the exchange rate and trying to move money, ideally when it's at a favorable point, which I'm not sure we did perfectly at. But anyway, navigating all of that is new and challenging. And then we used two resources because we didn't have our own realtor. And I know there's mixed reviews around, do you have to, do you not? It's certainly a realtor's perspective is you should, but we did not.
Sure.
So what we did do is we hired a lawyer. People said you need a lawyer to look out for you.
Yeah.
And then we also hired an architect even before we put in a bid, because we wanted to know that what we wanted to do with the structure could be done. Because if we couldn't, then we're not putting in a bid. So he actually came and put a document together letting us know exactly what we were getting and how it was equipped and what might need to be changed. And then the lawyer worked with us and the contractor and actually put in place, which I thought was brilliant, a contract that said, if the final delivery of the work goes past 120 days, there's a payback penalty that they have for every late day. And what felt good about that, because we had heard nightmares that, again, the demand is more than the supply. And so the contractors might take a job, stop or pause while they're doing it, work on another job, and then you're just wrestling with them to get the work done. And thankfully, this process took about maybe 7 months.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
And were you staying in your rental while that was being done, or were you living in the new house?
Yeah, so we were staying in the rental. And again, I mean, the timing, so that ran out the end of May. My strategy was to find new renters for the landlords so that they didn't have to worry about it. And the people who were renting weren't moving in right away. So if I needed a cushion, then perhaps that cushion would be there. And it ended up being we needed like 7 days into June. And then we were able to move.
Okay, nice. I mean, that's pretty smooth. That sounds like it went pretty well.
It did.
Okay, so let's switch gears. So you moved on the D7, which is like passive income. Some people call it the retiree visa. But then you get to Portugal and you decide to do something pretty special with Vamos Bem, because you kind of leveraged your background, your professional background. So can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. So when my husband and I moved here, both of us could work virtually. So while we came on a D7, and he's still working, so he can work through the computer, and he's still doing that on a part-time basis. I have retired as of this year, but I am always passionate about mission-oriented work. And when I was in the United States, I was the primary caregiver for my mom for the last 8 years of her life, and just very concerned about how we treat elders, how we age and provide care for them, and ultimately us, and how we die. And when possible, direct that course of that process. And so when I came here, very shortly, so I moved in September. In March, or actually during the summer of the following year, a woman moved here from New York at the bright young age of 82 years of age, alone. Wow. And it became evident to the community that she had a reoccurrence of cancer and was on a path towards death. And she was here with nobody. So we found out from her when she needed to be readmitted to the hospital, almost like for hospice care, we asked her things like, what's the passcode to get into your phone? How do you get into your laptop? Who has keys? What medicine are you on? I mean, there were all these questions in how do we take care of her with no resource really available. And she was admitted to a hospital. And for the 3 weeks of the time before she passed, someone from this community went and sat by her side, even people who did not know her. And we wanted to companion her and bear witness to her dying. And we read her poetry that she had said she liked. We played music, and we gave her as reverent an exit from this world as possible. And what impressed all of us here was that could have been us, right? At any moment in time, we could be in that position. So how do we prepare ourselves so that in Portugal, people know what we want for end of life care? So that's how do you complete a Portuguese advance directive? How do we provide checklists that tell people what are our passwords, where are our accounts, who has financial power of attorney, all this stuff. How do we want to die? I had asked this woman, Juliet, if she had an advance directive, was able to find out on her computer. She didn't have one here. She had one from the US. And I took screenshots that I then gave the ER doctors for her so that at least people would know what her wishes were. But all of that are things that all of us tend to put off because who wants to think about it? And so that helped galvanize, along with a couple of other incidents, this work.
Okay. And you started this like soon after arriving here in Portugal?
So I got here September 2020, 2022. Right. And this started about a year later, the initial part of this work. Yep.
And did you find it difficult to organize things? I assume that the company is like an officially registered company in Portugal or organization, or no?
Not yet. Not yet.
So how's the organization of it been? Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a steering team, and that team has vacillated because people's needs and wants change. So we have people who are interested in contributing in some way. Okay. And our steering team, we've had people who are interested in and have the knowledge to create a website. So we have a website. Mm-hmm. We've offered things like workshops on how to complete Portuguese Advance Directive. We've had things like Death Over Dinner, which is how do we make the conversation about death a normal activity as compared with, oh no, don't talk about that. Right. And so what I have looked for as the chairperson is I want people to bring their talents and gifts and what's fun for them to this effort. So if this effort matters to them, then what's fun for them to do? And I will use it. There are people who love social media. So whatever it is, we will take volunteers to do the work. There are people who are familiar with Meal Train, which is an online platform that you can organize like grocery shopping or meal delivery or transportation. So when people have been either temporarily or permanently disabled, we can organize support for them through those platforms. What else have we done? We've tapped into Portuguese, the process called Estou Aqui, which means I am here. And it's a bracelet, which I'm wearing, that police, should something happen to me, police can look at this number, look online and find out who I am, where do I live, who to contact in case of emergency. So we've made a lot of progress, and we still need volunteers to do more.
Okay. And if someone's interested in volunteering or learning more, how do they do that?
They can go to our website, and there's a form that they can fill out, which ultimately will get to me, and then I'll get in touch with them.
Okay. Because I mean, I'm hearing this to be like a kind of a social support rather than a business endeavor. Correct? Is that a good assumption? Okay.
Yeah. So we've talked about becoming a nonprofit, and we may do that. But really what we'd like is this to spread throughout Portugal, and it's already started to. We have people in Cascais, we have people along the Silver Coast who identified that there's a need for this and want to tap into that. So we may become an association only because it might help us communicate with existing agencies here. But really the purpose is to spread the capacity and the inspiration for people to find community support in aging well and in dying well.
And I mean, this is going to be a loaded question, I know, but like, what does it look like to start something like that conversation, let's say, or a community or a small group of friends that will come together and actually talk about the process of aging and dying well?
What's it like?
Yeah, I know it's a loaded question. But yeah, I guess I'm curious to know, like, I'm personally curious to know, like, how do you even get started having this conversation? Like, what does a successful start look like?
Yeah. Well, so how to complete an advance directive starts that process, right? Because people have to think about, I'm going to die someday. So, and on the form are questions like, how do you want pain managed? Who do you want to visit you? Do you want artificial feeding or fluids? I mean, so that process alone starts this question of, what do you want for yourself? Who do you want to be able to speak for you when you can't, right? So that takes some thought. And then the other thing, Josh, is people are amazing in that when they're ready, they will reach out or they will avail themselves of opportunity. If they're not ready, they will not show up. So if we're going to do something like death over dinner, and it's a structured process, you can actually Google death over dinner and find a web page that has things like podcasts and short videos and little articles, depending on what you want to talk about. You know, what do you want done with your body beyond cremation or traditional burial? There are a variety of options like composting and natural burials, writing your obituary. I mean, there's just so much that can be done ahead of time. I actually have a Spotify playlist. My poor husband, should I go before him? It's like 3 hours long. But anyway, I have a memorial playlist with music that I want shared. So it can be fun, and it doesn't have to be fear-filled to talk about it.
Okay. And I'm also curious to know, like, what age do people start having these conversations, at least from your experience?
Yeah, so I would say maybe 50s on up. And I think part of that is we start, so people in our circle of influence dying starts to become a bit more common. whether that's parents, whether that's friends, and we start realizing that we're not here forever. And then seeing and witnessing when people aren't prepared and haven't put things in order, the burden that it is on those who have to look after them. So we talked about, letting go of property and things. One of the best things you can do for your whoever's going to be taking care of your estate is let go of stuff. Because just imagine, I don't know if your parents are still living, but just imagine the work that's involved in going through lots of belongings.
Yeah. I mean, I've certainly witnessed my parents having to do that for my grandparents as my grandparents have passed away, and making preparations for stuff like that. And, going back to the point you made about the circle of influence, once you start seeing people pass away in your circle of influence, Kaylee and I have been living abroad 16 years, and it's, we just experienced this for the first time ourselves, where a friend of ours that we had here in Portugal, passed away. And it was different. It was a very, very different experience. It was kind of strange for even us, like processing it, going through the emotions of it, because it was new. And then also, how do we help our friend out who's who's the husband and the survivor, and we still don't know exactly how to navigate it. But I think the work that you're doing in having something like this is very important, because we do see the age demographic of people that move over to Portugal from the US and might not have their family and friend, their regular family and friend network, and they need to build that. Right. And sometimes they have to build it rather quickly. Whereas I think in your home country, it just happens organically over a long period of time, generally. So yeah, thanks for doing that and explaining it. Okay. So I want to shift to something that you told us about. You have a piece of advice that you want to give to people that are interested in moving to Portugal. And it's something that a bike coach used to tell you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for cueing me on that. Yeah. So Kurt, my wonderful bike coach, when I would be tackling hills, he would say, Joy, never look the hill full in its face. Because if you do that and you look and see how high it is, you will get discouraged and you might quit. But if you only look 10 feet in front of you, get there, and then look at the next 10 feet in front of you, you can do it. So the comparison to moving to Portugal is true. If you look at all you have to do, it will seem insurmountable. But if you just knock off one task at a time, then the momentum will happen and you will succeed.
Nice. I love that. I love that analogy. Do you feel the same way maybe about living here as things have been changing, and it's kind of like the goal line keeps moving in certain ways in terms of Portuguese bureaucracy? So have you felt it challenging on the living here side of things, or has that gotten easier over time?
It has gotten easier. I've noticed, so going on 3 years, I have noticed, like there was one day recently where I had conversations with immigrants, and then I had conversations a little bit in Portuguese with Portuguese people, or being able to walk into an optometrist eyeglass store and actually ask for what I wanted in Portuguese and have a little conversation. And
nice.
And it just felt like, this is my home now. And I have not only immigrant friends, but I also have Portuguese friends, and we're the Portuguese people in my yoga class. And I can talk a little bit more now to them in Portuguese and understand them. This is home.
Nice. I'm curious about like other points of adaptation, because some people really like Portuguese food and other people are not so interested in it. So where do you sit? Do you like Portuguese food, or is that a struggle?
So I sadly adore the carbs in Portugal. Um, so bread and pastry. I like fish. Uh, I do not like meat. We're not big meat eaters. So, um, so I like some of the foods, but I also like ethnic varieties. And thankfully here in Setúbal, and we can get that. We can get Nepalese food. We can get Moroccan. We can get Asian, Italian. So, so I am thankful to have options.
And how often do you eat out?
Initially, it was a lot for weight control and financial control. That has changed. So,
same.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I mean, so I will say this is also an adaptation that I didn't have in the United States. So a couple of things. One is I know more people here than I think I have ever known in my entire life. So the community here is large to, it's a gift, and it can be something to manage, actually.
Sure.
And
like you have too many social things going on.
A lot. And I happen to be introverted and need my quiet time. So I've got to be choosy. And then the other part of that, and so much socialization is around food and drink. And if you're watching that, you either have to be bold enough to say, I just want water or whatever, or you have to manage it. And so for all those reasons, we have opted to try and eat at home more and not go out as much.
Yeah, the thing that I had to do was I had to just make a rule for myself that I could only have a drink on the weekend, because the same exact thing you're saying is so many events center around food and beverage. And it's okay. I mean, yes, you can end up consuming a lot of calories while eating out, but I think it's really the alcohol that kills you. It's that, I mean, it is a poison. Let's be honest. It's a lovely poison, but it's a poison. So yeah, I mean, you'll get into a rhythm here. At least I've found, and the people that we know here in Porto have found, that you can just end up getting into a habit of having several drinks a day, which ultimately is not healthy, and it's not good for weight management. It doesn't impact your wallet very much because it's so inexpensive, comparatively, for sure.
Right.
But I had to make the decision to only do Friday after, in the evening until I don't drink on Sundays really. So it's basically like Friday and Saturday I'll have a drink socially, or when we go to the FC Porto game, or before the game we'll have a beer. But otherwise I'm a teetotaler. And Monday to Friday lunch.
Yes. Yeah. And that takes, I think, some courage, because it's somewhat anti-culture, right? I mean,
it is. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes.
And you have to battle sometimes your will as well, because last night my wife and I went over to my little sister's in town for a few months, taking a sabbatical from her nursing. She's in her mid-20s, and she just finished her first nursing contract. So she came to Portugal to, be closer to us, have a European experience, be able to spend some time with our daughter, who she wants a relationship with, but has always been far from. And we went over to have dinner with her, and she had an open bottle of wine, and she offered us wine. And I was like, sorry, can't do it. I can't have a glass.
Wow.
So
good for you.
My wife had one for me and her. So
yeah, that's discipline. Okay. Good for you, Josh. I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah, it's tough though. It's tough because like you say, it is such a part of the social culture here. And then there's the other side of it. Like, you know yourself well enough as an introvert that you need to refill your energy tanks by being alone. But when there's so many social opportunities, it's so challenging because you do want to like keep those relationships and stay connected to people. But like you said, you know so many people. So it's like every day of the week you could be doing something.
Yes, it's true. Yeah.
Are there any cons that any other cons that you found? Because we've talked quite glowingly about Portugal and Setúbal. Are there any cons that you found that you maybe want to warn people about or just put on their radar? Like if you're this type of person, maybe watch out for this thing.
Yeah. And I think so. And what I'm going to say, I've heard from others as well. So so the good part about Portugal is it's slower. The bad part about Portugal is it's slower. So, people complain about the bureaucracy, and I tell people under promise and over deliver is not a known concept here. So very often, and certainly in our apartment reno project, we would have time promises that just never came through. And that can be frustrating because we might be used to people say they follow through and they're reliable, or it's on my desired timetable. And no, not all the time. So you really I think you have to tread the line between being patient and also being more assertive than we might be used to being, because Portugal is so relationship oriented. People are used to being nice and kind. And for some of us, we have to get what we might think of not as nasty, but more aggressive than we might normally be to get what we want. And that can be uncomfortable for us.
Yes. Such good advice. What Expats Everywhere, we believe that living abroad transforms lives. How has living abroad transformed your life thus far?
What that is an awesome question. So this is my first time being an immigrant. So that's pretty enlightening, given what's going on in the world. Finding ways or finding the importance even within me of wanting to belong, right? Wanting to be accepted, wanting to fit in somehow, while also continuing to honor traditions that perhaps have been part of my life previously. And then the other part, particularly here, and I noticed this when I first came, even my pace of walking. So, I mean, I am used to to-do lists and getting up in the morning and just knocking off one thing after another. And I mean, I would have to say to myself for the first 6 months or more here, Joy, you don't have to walk fast. You're not rushing anywhere. You don't have to necessarily do anything. So how do you slow down and really appreciate the beauty that's around you? How do you be grateful for the abundance that's here, the peace? People who visit me, you can't tell them. They have to experience it when they're here, that I don't fear for my life when I walk out my door, or if I'm out taking pictures at night. I'm not paranoid. I feel safe. And there is nothing that can compare, or, I mean, it's just such a remarkable thing to have that feeling.
Right on. Joy, thank you so much for joining us. We put the links for Vamos Bem in the description section below so people can find you there.
Wonderful.
And fill out the forms if they're interested and check out more information. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Josh.